Welcome to the Scoop World Order. It has been a hot minute, but I'm back with my two amigos, my two favorite guys in the world. I got Bill Bank Greene, and I got Nevadabuck. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, man.
Doing great, Kirk.
Doing great. It's been a minute. Had a lot of stuff happen since the championship game. Had some coaches move
Hey,
on.
Kirk.
We've had
Kirk, Alabama just scored again.
Oh God! Yeah, of course.
They threw deep over tough Moreland. They scored again.
No way. There's no way. Did we put a fifth linebacker in the game to see if we could?
They're not adjusting yet. They know this. They know this is going to work. They're not adjusting out of it.
Yeah, we need some more man-to-man in the goal line because Federal League schools wouldn't even do that, but we did. So they could motion and get us outflanked immediately. So that was really fun to watch.
Back to your scheduled program.
Yeah, back to my scheduled program. So since then we've had Kerry Combs he was under a little bit of fire, and we've had signing day, and just your thoughts since the Alabama game, the morale of the team. We'll start with you, Nevadabuck. What are your thoughts? We got spring ball in 2 weeks. We've had winter conditioning. What is your thoughts on the mentality of the team, and maybe even talk about some of the kids that came back that we weren't expecting to come back?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a really interesting year. You've got the marquee event is the quarterback competition between Kyle McCord and CJ Stroud and Jack Miller, and I think you've got a really high profile matchup of three really talented kids. McCord just got named the National Player of the Year, and that's going to really be taking a lot of the attention throughout the spring. But having the guys back that they did now, some of these guys are going to be sitting out spring, with some minor touch-up injuries type of stuff, and making sure they're tuned up and ready to go for the summer and the fall. But to get players like Thayer Munford and Haskell Garrett and Chris Olave back was just an incredible boon to the team. I mean, the team was always going to be good. The team was always going to be a top 10 team. But those guys coming back, it's really hard to envision a scenario where they don't make the playoffs. And if you make the playoffs, you've got a chance to win the championship. So, despite the rookie quarterback situation stepping in, I think you got the pieces in there to make another run. And Ryan Day, I put on a nugget the other day about how Ryan Day is spending some extra individual attention with each of the guys, breaking down the plays, play by play for them for the previous season. And I think it's really there are some blessings that come out of this COVID stuff where the coaches got a little bit more time to spend with the guys here in Columbus. It's going to make for a really exciting time. Spring football starts in 2 weeks, so I can't wait to get after it.
What are your thoughts, Bank?
Yeah, I agree with Mumford, Garrett, and Olave coming back. I mean, I was stunned, and I talked to a couple different coaches, one Big Ten coach and one SEC coach, and they both said that was amazing because this past year was so hard on the players. The most difficult year you could possibly have, and a lot of guys they've had enough. So, and these three guys, they were guaranteed NFL guys. So if you're looking for a way out and you're on the fence, and you just came through such a horrible year with all the COVID protocols, perfect time to go. And I think it speaks to the culture that Ryan Day has created, that these three came back. I was shocked any of the three came back, let alone all three. So I think it's a positive, for Ryan Day. And then, to go back to Nevada's point on the quarterbacks, I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. I'm a huge Kyle McCord guy. Really think the world of CJ Stroud. And if you look at Ohio State's last three national championships, all three were won with a rookie quarterback. So that doesn't faze me at all. So, and those guys are good. If you're throwing Joe Bauserman out there, you're not going to win. But, you're especially Stroud and McCord. I think they're cut above Jack Miller. So I think, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this spring. But I agree. It's really hard to see Ohio State not winning the Big Ten next year. Conference was down this year. I don't see how it gets any better next year. So I think Ohio State's almost locked into the playoffs. And when you get there, anything can happen.
Well, I'm going to stick with you for a second, Bank. You're a Vegas guy. Handicap the quarterback race right now. Who's your favorite? Who you think second? And do you think that the third guy ends up transferring out before fall ball starts?
No, I don't see a transfer before fall ball. And I think that, if Ryan Day's as smart as I think he is, he might not even name a starter coming out of spring ball. He might just say, hey, we're going to fight it out in the fall.
Nope.
There's really no advantage to naming a
Yeah.
starter,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
in June. So let them all keep fighting. Say they're all doing great. They all have good moments. So personally, I mean, when Justin Fields got hurt in the playoffs, he left for one play. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Who came in?
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud. Now, at that time, Ryan Day had no clue if Justin Fields was ever going to take another snap the rest of his life. So at that moment, that told me what the depth chart is, not something they throw out on Thursday morning or whatever. Right then, in your moment of crisis, they turn to CJ Stroud. That tells me he's clearly the guy. Now, Kyle McCord coming in early and going through spring and everything and all the talent he has. And I really think Kyle was more prepared coming out of high school to be a college starter than CJ was. But CJ got the year in the system. So we'll see. I think it's CJ and Kyle and I would give a huge edge to CJ Stroud there. But we'll see. It's gonna be fun to watch.
Right, you Nevada. You feel the same?
Yeah, I do. I think the thing with Kyle's really taken on the leadership role with this incoming freshman group, and you can just tell. I mean, he's an alpha. He's an alpha, and he's a guy that the guys rally behind, and he's going to be the thought leader for those incoming kids. Which is an insanely talented group. And then, as Banks said, you've got CJ, who's got he's got a year in the system, which you cannot. You can't put enough emphasis on that because there's no substitute for that type of experience. And CJ is just a terrific quarterback. And in fact, for the Heisman futures, I'd be putting money, and I have put money on CJ Stroud to win the Heisman next year, just because you think it's going to go to a quarterback, it's going to go to a highly ranked team, and why not the Ohio State quarterback? So. Yeah, I think it's going to be a heck of a battle. It's one of those things that if you think about how different the world is when Joe Burrow gets that injury here at Ohio State, he was neck and neck at that point in time, and kind of went on to completely different paths. So this could come down to one guy getting nicked up in practice, or some little thing, or one play. And as you guys mentioned, I don't expect this to be settled to fall ball. There really is no benefit to doing it before fall ball. I think he'll let it go a couple of weeks into the fall camp, and then name the starter. But I think those guys are going to battle it out. And boy, I people always ask me, gun to your head, who you picking? It's a tough one. It's a tough one because I go back and forth on this. I think we got some terrific candidates, and then a little bit of time you've got Quinn Ewers coming down the path. So it's going to be fun being an Ohio State fan because elite quarterback plays what it's all about, and we're sure going to have plenty of that.
Yeah, it's been special under Ryan Day. Next question, I'm going to swing it back to you, Nevada. Which running back leads the team in carries next year?
Well, I mean, the popular thing is say Travion Henderson, and he's just if you look at his highlights, and I'm not a highlight guy, just for the record. I'm not all the kids look great to me when you look at them in highlights. Like I can make highlight tapes of my own kids and watch them and go, wow, these kids are pretty good, even though I know they suck. So I don't get too excited about highlight tapes. But when you look at Henderson, he's just next level. You're looking at something very, very special, and I just want to temper my enthusiasm just a little bit until we can actually see him and get some reports from how he's going up against college kids. I'm probably higher on Mine Williams than a lot. I think he's legitimate. I think people get hung up a little bit on the ratings and the fact that he was a 3-star kid coming out of Cincinnati. I think he's terrific. I think he's a terrific player. I think he runs angry, he runs low with great leverage, and he's I think he's a terrific little back. Is he OSU quality? I think we could win some games with him back there, but clearly Henderson's a big home run hitter, and then you had Evan Pryor kind of skulking around, and so I didn't mention Master T. Not trying to be rude, not trying to be mean to the kid. I think he's a terrific kid, terrific teammate. but I think those other guys are next level, and I'm really excited to see it, because running back's a position where you can make immediate impact because it's just hand the ball, go run with the ball, and these guys are going to run, and they're going to run well, and Henderson's a guy I can't wait to see.
What about you, Bank?
Yeah, Henderson's, it's a matter of, when he takes over, not if. Is it a year from now or is it opening day? He's the most talented guy of the group, and, he's really special. If you ask him who's going to lead the team in carries, I think it's going to be Teague. I mean, I think it's a safe play. I think you're going to see running back by committee. I know they want to see what Crowley can do, and it was kind of unfair to the kid. They threw him in the Alabama game. Teague's conditioning was a question there, and he looked good in the first half and then ran out of gas. They didn't have the confidence in Mine Williams to put him in. They threw Crowley in when he wasn't really ready. So I don't know. I want to see a fully healthy Crowley. And, can he play or can he not play? And then the guy that really intrigues me is the guy that I never thought I would ever mention his name, is Steele Chambers, because I thought he was maybe the most explosive of, other than Trey Sermon, of the guys they played last year. He just, you got to hang on to the daggone ball or you're not going to play. I mean, I thought he was a linebacker all the way when they recruited him. I mean, that guy really flashed to me when he got opportunities, but he's hurt a lot, and he doesn't hang on to the ball a lot, but those are things that can be corrected. So Steele Chambers is kind of the guy I want to see what they do with him, heading into spring. But I don't know. I thought he showed a lot of flash and explosion and size and things I liked, on the carries he got last year. So we'll see. But I think if, you put a gun to my head, I think Teague will be the lead the team in carries, but I think 4 or 5 guys are going to get carries.
Nevada, what's your confidence level in us picking the right running back this year after last year? I'm just real curious on this question.
Yeah, well,
our preseason home runner, our preseason guy was Trey Sermon, and I hyped him up, and then he got like 3 carries in the first game. I was like, oh God, I missed. I don't think I did.
You just knew, though, the reports coming out it was so obvious that he was the guy, and I just think it was I'm not sure if Alfred and him had a good enough relationship where Tony really trusted him to give him the ball, and I think the staff knew what they had with Master. But this year, as Bank said, you've got 5 or 6 guys in the mix, and it could be any one of them. I mean, it could be any one of them that step up. But like, you've got some legitimate top end talent, home run hitters, and we haven't had that in a little bit. Well, we had Sermon last year, but he didn't have the top end speed that a guy like Henderson has. That breakaway, hold your breath every time he touches the ball type of player, and it's going to be fun to have that back in the backfield.
Yeah. And, all right, so I'm going to move to the receiver room before we move off of the offense. But which receiver? Because obviously the top 2 are as A+ as it gets. Maybe the 2 best receivers in all of the country, which sometimes that's hyperbole when you say it, but I really don't know if there's a guy to take over either of those 2. But which receiver, and don't say Jeremy Ruckert, has the 3rd most catches this year? Because we have about 7 or 8 candidates. Which guy is that 3rd guy by the end of the year? Start with you, Bank.
That's a tough one, because if you can't use the tight end, you don't want me to say the tight end, which I think that's who it will be. Then you're back to Jamison Williams, Julian Fleming, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. They really didn't show a lot of confidence in Jamison Williams last year. They didn't throw to him hardly at all. I think Smith and Jigba really showed flash and dash, but man, Julian Fleming is so good. And I think he needed a year to kind of acclimate himself there. And I think Smith and Jigba and Julian Fleming had to be sick to see Olave come back. They couldn't have expected that. They had to have hated that. But, Julian Fleming is a guy I don't think a lot of people really are aware of because of Smith and Jigba and Jamison Williams starting. But I'm going to go with Julian Fleming here. I think he's a guy that pops next year.
But you, Nevada.
I'm going Marvin Harrison.
Oh,
I think it's rare that you talk about somebody coming right in and stepping in and making plays, but and he's extraordinary. I mean, he's extraordinary. This guy's an extraordinary physical specimen. He's a student of the game. He's huge. He's strong. He's smart. And he's got an incredible chemistry with McCord. So if McCord wins the battle, this is going to be a guy that he's looking to. So, you've got a loaded receiver room, but this guy may be the best one of the whole bunch, and he's the freshman. And he's a guy that we're going to be talking an awful lot about the next 3 seasons because he's uber talented, and it's tough for wide receivers to come in and make immediate impact from the jump, but this is one that's going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, your dad's a Hall of Famer, and you're a giant, and you're fast as can be. It doesn't hurt at all. I guess I'll go with the Mecca because I was going to go Julian Fleming, and then I was going to go Harrison. You guys took my guys, so I'm just going to go Mecca and just say I'll take the other number 1 receiver in the country after Julian Fleming. But I love Fleming. I think he's going to have a huge year. So we'll shift gears real quick, and we're going to go to a side of the ball that we're a little less confident in. Let's talk a little bit about this defense. We'll start with you, Bank. What needs to change this year? I mean, we obviously had a pretty rough year against the pass. We're going to lose our entire linebacking crew. We're losing some really good players. What has to change? Who has to change? What players need to play more or less? Give me your first thoughts on what you would do if magically you became the defensive coordinator.
I would put 6 linebackers on the field. I think that's
yeah. Since you see Jalen Waddle and Najee Harris, let's put six linebackers out there.
Yeah. No, I think you start off up front where I think things are going to be really, really good. I'm a big believer in Zach Harrison. I don't think they played him enough last year. I thought he was their most productive D end. Tyreek Smith took a huge leap toward the end of the year and then got COVID before the Bama game. I think Tyreek's going to be huge. Jack Sawyer is absolutely going to play. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
Haskell Garrett, I mean, he got rolled in the Alabama game, which still surprises me, but it happens. But he's a heck of a player. So you're good there. You got a lot of guys you can rotate with him at the other defensive tackle spot with Cage and Jackson and those guys. So I think they're going to be really, really good up front. Then you drop back that linebacker core. I have no clue what they have there. And anybody says they know what they have there, you're guessing. The guys that got the snaps last year were Gant, Mitchell, and Young. So those were the guys that got the most snaps of the backups. Are all 3 of those guys going to start? Are any of them going to start? I couldn't tell you right now. So linebacker is going to be a riot to watch this year. Then you go back to those DBs, and that's pretty ugly last year. Pretty ugly. So I think they need a transfer out of the portal if you can find one who's better than what you have. There's no point in bringing a guy in who's a repetition of what you've got. So if they can find a starter in the portal, I think they'll bring one in. And then those guys just have to play better. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. It's not the NFL. You can't trade for guys. So you got to roll with your dudes. Love J.K. Johnson, Hancock. Those guys are going to be really, really good. But, if you look back at Denzel Ward and Gary and Conley and Marshawn Lattimore, those guys were not starters as freshmen. Mm-hmm. So to me, D-line's a given, going to be really, really good. Linebackers, total question mark, because I don't know what they have. They could be great. They could not be. And then the DBs are not good enough unless those freshmen are ready to play. And if you get a starter out of the portal, then things start looking a lot better. So, but I see a lot of question marks in the back 7.
What about you, Nevada?
Well, I had this conversation with a guy that I consider to be a pretty bright defensive mind, and guy, D1 defensive coordinator at UCLA for a number of years, and we were just talking about the evolution of the modern offenses and what they're going against, and what kind of ailed Ohio State last year. And it became evident from the conversation that it's guys. I think the key to the Ohio State defense is guys like Josh Proctor, Court Williams, guys that can kind of play that hybrid role. I kind of liken it to the big wings in basketball. Those guys that can kind of, that are big. They're big enough. but they're not too, they're not too big, and the guys that can kind of play that hybrid role. I think Ohio State's going to have to find a way to really emphasize the fact that they've got athletes and hybrids that can play and have a system that allows them to play. And Josh Thacker's a guy that should be. You should never leave the field. And the fact that there's no reason a guy like Josh Proctor couldn't play linebacker for Ohio State. That's my opinion. As opposed to running guys out there that couldn't cover Bill Greene, at the Ponderosa buffet on a Sunday night. So it's like, we've got to find guys that can run. I think the Court Williams thing really hurt him. I think last year having Lathan Ransom step up like he did, and they played better when he was out there in the field. And I think that, Ohio State's going to have to find a way to get those guys on the field at the same time and then live with the consequences, because that's what the modern offenses are that's how they're going to attack you. And, if you don't have guys that can run and cover, they're going to exploit you. And that's what we saw in the national championship game. And it was bad. I think this year the pass rush for Ohio State is going to be better, and that's going to help relieve a lot of the pressure on the back seven. Because, having guys like JT and having Sawyer step right in that can, help out the defensive ends that really did take a big step up last year, like Harrison and Smith. And I think that's going to relieve a lot of the pressure. But I think the hybrids are going to be the key for Ohio State this year, and that's what I'm looking for on the defense.
Yeah, I'm scared to death about the back seven personally. Replacing 4 linebackers that played a lot, started a lot of games. Like, there's nowhere linebackers are going to be better. I think they're going to be actually markedly worse just because of the talent drop off. Because I think Pete Warner is a fringe first or second round guy. I think, Baron Browning's a second round guy. Like, those are talented dudes, so replacing those guys with a bunch of guys that have no experience is going to be scary. It's a lot like the secondary. Like, 2 years ago, we lose Jordan Fuller, we lose Arnett, we lose Okuda. We're all new in the secondary, and it was really, really ugly at times. So I think that the linebackers are going to be about like that. Haskell coming back was huge. Something people don't talk about is he had to play nose against Bama, and he's not a nose. He's a 3 technique, which is a very different position from nose. Nose is Tommy Togiai, Vince Wilfork, big guy, grab the center and guard, keep him from getting up. Haskell had to go in and play that so that Teron Vincent could play 3 technique, and 3 techniques, like you get on the outside shoulder of the guard, you rush up field, pass rush guy, Warren Sapp, Aaron Donald. Like, you don't waste a guy like Aaron Donald at nose guard, like that's what Haskell's game is. So, and it looked like he didn't know what he was doing out there. Just being honest, like it's like playing, right tackle versus left guard. It's different responsibilities, different stuff. And when you're not used to it and you're an All-American at one spot and you're, just a guy at another spot, it's a big blow to the defense. But it's going to be interesting, man. We've had some turnover. Some guys have moved on. Greg Madison retiring scares me to death too, because I think he's a fantastic coach. I've played against him, I've coached against him. Like, I know that he's really good. So it's going to be real interesting now that he's out the door, and he's retired, but we know coaches never really retire. So I'm sure he'll surface somewhere, next year. But this is going to be real interesting. So next phase of this, I'd love to talk recruiting stories. We have a great thread on Buckeye Scoop right now about some of the best recruiting stories that Zach Smith has dealt with and seen. Bill Greene, you're a veteran of the beat. Obviously, Nevadabuck has heard and seen a lot. Give me one of your best, your funniest recruiting stories that's memorable that maybe people haven't heard before. And I'll start with you, Bank.
Oh, thanks a lot. Throw it to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Do I have to mention names, or can I?
No,
it depends on if they're retired or in jail or whatever. It just depends. This is what it is. If it's something that could hurt someone, it's up to you. But
yeah, no,
people like the details. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I know. One of the best ones was a kid from Florida, and he was pretty much locked up to a school in the SEC that was not one of the powers. Okay. And everyone kind of knew that he was going to go to that school. He had taken about 10 unofficial visits to that school, and that kid didn't have enough money to buy a Twinkie and a chocolate milk in the morning, but here he's taking all these visits to a school that's several hundred miles away from where he was. But everyone knew he was going to go there. It was locked, signed, sealed, over and out. And he kind of had what do I want to call him? A mentor that was advising him, who lived in the city where the SEC school was located. So he had the job of making sure that kid would take the unofficial visits. And that was no problem for this guy. He was wealthy and he knew how to play the game. So they got the kid up there for several unofficial visits. And this guy had the kid in his home, would hook him up with a beautiful hotel room, did everything he had to do. And until the kid stole the guy's credit card. And when he was in the hotel, ordered an escort with the guy's credit card to come to the hotel. And the guy's wife found out about it. So the guy goes to the kid and says, I canceled your plane trip home. You'll never speak to me again. You are not coming to this university. He said, and good luck finding your way back home. So that was always a good one for me. And I can't name the names, but I would like to, but I can't.
How did that rig up on the girl have like a stripe thing for the credit card that she
I
ran
have
in? It's
no
Raquel the Gazelle or something.
I would never know how something like that would work. So you're asking the wrong guy. So I don't know, but I know it happened, and I know the kid had to get his own way home, and it was it was huge. It was gigantic. What a mess. And he did not go to that school.
Wow, Nevada, we'll try and top that one. I can't wait to hear yours.
Look, I've got so many, but as Bank said, the tough thing is you've got to change the names to protect the innocent. I think one of my favorite stories really was when I was just a young sprout. My best friend was a Division I athlete out from the West Coast, and was making his trips, and he went to Arizona, and he went to UCLA, and then I think he went to Stanford, and then he went to Washington. Looking for his fifth trip, and he comes back and he goes, "I'm going to go to Clemson." I'm like, Clemson, and like honestly, I didn't even know where Clemson was. I legit didn't even know where Clemson was at the time. I'm like, "Where Clemson? You're going to go to Clemson?" He says, "Yeah. I think I'm going to take a trip out there to Clemson." So we look on the things, find out Clemson's all the way on the East Coast and South Carolina. I'm like, wow, okay, you're gonna go to Clemson. So he takes the trip out to Clemson, and remember, this is like in 1978, okay? And so Clemson at the time really wasn't kind of a national name. They were just kind of a Billy program. My friend comes back. And he goes, man, this trip was unbelievable. He goes, I think I'm going to go to Clemson. I'm like, you're going to go to Clemson? You've never been to Clemson before? You go there for a week and you're going to go? He goes, yeah. He goes, I go to Clemson. He goes, and the first thing they do when we get to Clemson is we go out there and we look at the facility and we look at, all the tradition of Clemson football and all that stuff. He goes, and then they just handed me money. And it was like, they gave you money? He goes, yeah, they gave me money. And I'm like, really? Who gave you the money? He goes, well, these guys that like they were wearing these jackets, and they just gave us money. And so I'm like, well, how much money did they give you? And so he pulled out a thing, and it was $3,100. And it was more money than I'd ever at the time. $3,100 was like $31 million to me. Like I'd just never seen that much money before. And lo and behold, he went to Clemson, and you know what? They won a national championship, and then they kind of went into obscurity. But that was my first brush with Clemson football. That's when I knew that they did things differently down in the South. And that was a first-hand Nevadabuck story, and that one I saw with my own eyes.
Wow, these are two strong stories. What year was this? Was this
1978?
78. $3,100 in 1978.
Yeah, it was like it looked like $1 million to me. It was $3,100. I never figured that. I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money.
You could buy a car. Buy a house,
Yeah, $3,100 is a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. Like I said, I'm not
Oh
sure
my
what the
God.
statute of limitations is on the NCAA or whatever it is, but yeah, that story actually happened.
All right. Well, it looks like I got to go now. So I'm going to name one name in my entire story, and Bank will probably fall off his rocking chair sitting in front of Pebble Beach or whatever that is, Pismo Beach. So my recruiting visit, I took one. I wish I would have taken 5, but I knew I wanted to go. So I go to the Ohio State. Despite everything Bill Greene wrote about me, they still offered me a scholarship and took me, which is amazing. So wasn't my host, but I was hosted by RJ Coleman. So I guess I'll name 2 names. He was a tight end from West Virginia, never really played, hurt his neck. But even if he had 2 necks, I don't know if he'd ever played. Just, he moved to O-line, got fat. Yeah, so it was like one of those. But TJ Downing was in my quartet, and Bank's gonna fall off of his chair here. So
I don't think you want to tell this story. If it's some of the ones TJ's told me, you might want to bite your tongue.
God, well, no, it's not going to be the triple. Like, I'll protect the innocent, and obviously I'm going to exonerate myself just because I'm a little choir boy, scoop guy, which you guys all know that's not true. But so my official visit, I have no idea what to expect. Like, I'm excited. I just got offered, committed on the spot. Just like, every other 3-star superhero O lineman that Bill Greene loves. As soon as we get offered, we commit so they don't pull it. We had real offers back then. So when we got offered, it was a real thing. So I shut it down, came down. It was the week after Michigan, so they're going to the championship, play the Hurricanes. Like, we literally were watching Miami play. I forget who they're, like Washington or somebody. And when they won, we knew that we were going to wear the white jerseys because they were going to be the 1 seed, or I can't remember how it went, but we go out to eat, and all of a sudden, like, dinner, like the parents go one way and the kids and the host go another way, which I thought it was just gonna be like all family time and eating dinners and hanging out with coaches, and it is not that at all. Like, all of a sudden, like, the players, we go off to where did we go? We went to like Buckeye Hall of Fame Cafe, and then they take the parents down to like Morton's. So they're eating like steak and lobster and opulence, and we're eating like quesadillas and chicken tenders. There's nothing wrong with that. We're kids, playing video games. But after a while, we kind of split off, and like, okay, so what do we do now? Like, play PlayStation 2 or play Madden, or no? It's time to get after a little bit. So we and I'd never really drank before. So it was like, I was kind of a puss. I just never drank in high school. And so, we do a little drinking, we hang out in the dorms, meet a bunch of girls, great time. And we go to these bars called it was called Alcatraz, and it's since been bulldozed, but it's any of the older guys that have been around, they know where Alcatraz was. It's right on the corner of there's a BW3, so a corner of Lane and High. And like, we go in there, and I'm like, well, I'm not 21. How am I ever going to get into a bar? Because I'm an idiot. And then I realized it's like, oh, we just know the right guys. So we roll in, and we drink and drink and drink. And we were with a bunch of linemen, but we had one little guy with us. And there's a little guy, he was on his visit. I didn't really know him that well. But I'm like, okay, he's hanging in there pretty good, it looks like. So, but he's trying to drink with us, and we're all just body weight. Even though I didn't have any tolerance, I was much bigger. So we're drinking. And then finally they're like, all right, we're going to go to a strip club. And I'm like, this is going to be great. Even though I'm 18, I was like, I'm sure we'll be able to figure out a way to get in there somehow. Never been to one of those. So, little Kirky from Canton, growing up in a hurry on his visit. So we get in this van, and we're all feeling pretty green at the gills at this point. So, I'm sitting in this big van, this Ford van, and I'm laying back like this and looking up, and oh my God. And all of a sudden the dome light comes on, and I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, I'm like blinded by this light, and we're driving on 315. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I didn't even know what 315 was at the time. Now I know exactly where we were. And I look out the back, and the little guy that was doing all these shots with us is got the doors open, and he's vomiting on the highway as we're driving. Like, we're going like 60 miles an hour on the freeway, and he's like hanging out like the Titanic movie, vomiting all over the highway. And I look back, and I was like, if he falls out, he's going to die, and he's going to get hit by a truck, and this is going to be on 60 Minutes. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, at least I'm not in the back doing that. So I just kind of closed my eyes and just pray that he doesn't fall out and die, but we made it. I made it into the house of ill repute, and I'll never forget that his host, they give you like per diem for the kid to like host them and buy him a, chicken soft taco or whatever. They give you like $60 for the weekend if you're the host. Because I used to always love hosting, so I was like, it's like free money for me. So the host, since the kid didn't make it inside of the place we went to, just spent his money on his own lap dances, which I thought was amazing. So I was like, that's a great way to, make use of the money that you're supposed to spend on the kid. But he didn't make it out, and they actually took the manager that was our driver took him back to the Blackwell and put him in like a bathtub with like ice water and just left him in there with his arms hanging out so he wouldn't drown. But I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God. I was like, you don't know that until you're in it. And then once you're in it, you're like, oh, this is how it goes. And then, those guys, the kids that were out with all night had to go to practice at 7 a.m. And like, I showed up the next day to breakfast and I'm sitting there with my mom and uncle and I look like I'm about to die. And like, Trust walks over with his like eggs and sits down and, Bart, did you have a good night last night? I was like, yeah, coach, it was great. And I'm like, I held it all in and I didn't get sick, but it's just like, oh my God, I was using every fiber of my body to not throw up. So I was like, I feel so terrible right now. I mean, we like smoked like Black and Mild. So I was like, I never smoked this Black and Mild before. It's terrible. But like, when you're a dumb kid, you're just trying to hang in with the crowd. You do dumb stuff.
Who was the little kid? Who was the little guy?
Oh, should I name him?
Did he go on to play?
No.
Did he go on to play?
Oh, he ended up going to Ohio State, but he.
Well, I'm going to look at your recruiting class and figure out who it was. It's not going to be that hard to figure out who it was.
Hey, you know what? If the scoop sleuths want to get on it, that's fine. I won't confirm or deny it, but it was.
You were in a small class. You were in a small class too. This won't be hard.
He actually gained his college nickname that night, and it was all we called him for the rest of his time. So it was a pretty special night for him because it was.
So we just need to find somebody with the name Mr. Pukey.
You're actually pretty close. Pretty close. Bill's gonna spit out his red wine, but wow. If you get to rhyme it a little bit, and you'll figure it out real fast. So there's your scoop sleuth for the night, kids. But
I think we'll close on that one.
Oh yeah, well, I'm telling you, Bank, when we have TJ on, he'll tell the same story verbatim, man. It was like I literally was like, this kid's about to die. He's about to fall out of the van.
Real good.
Yeah. So, well, I'll wrap that, man. This has been fun. We're gonna do this a lot more. I'm gonna go call into our boy Zach's Miss Collins show right now and ask him for some more of his Red Velvet Cake stories, the Red Velvet Cake Chronicles. I'm gonna call them. With what's her name, Batunia, down in Liberty City, the little place you guys go to eat, Mama Lucy's. Mama Batunia. I'm telling you, I'll get down there and do a podcast with him.
I've been to that place probably 10 times. Banks hasn't been there since him and I went.
No, that was it. That was it, man, for me.
Never again?
I passed the baton to you.
Oh,
you've been there 10 times, Nevada.
Yeah,
really?
At least 10 times, maybe more, maybe 12.
Did you ever feel unsafe?
Oh, every time I go down there, I feel every time I go down there, I feel unsafe.
We went during the day though. We were fine.
Oh no, I only go during the day. I've never gone at night. I can tell you that. Yeah. I like to go like around 2:00 in the afternoon, like 2:30.
Right.
You beat the lunch crowd. You're after that, but your early dinner, that's. Yeah. It looks like you're a narcotics officer working the beat or something like that. But you go there and start talking a little football, and they'll start giving you stories. It's the best.
Now, is the big guy still own it? Big Jack?
Last time I was there, he was there. So yeah, I'd say yes.
Wow.
We gotta give him a scoop shirt. Put a scoop sticker up in.
We'll have to take Nick Walker there sometime.
Oh, there's a lot of places in Miami we got to take Nick Walker to. Oh my God, he's as square as it gets, man. We got to get a little bit shaved off.
We can round him out a little bit.
Yeah, I know he's getting married at like 19. I was like, oh man, that's gonna be. You're gonna have to work out a little bit there, Mickey. Our little dude. Well, I appreciate you guys. Do it again soon. So from Scoop Order, we're signing off for my two partners in crime. Great stories, guys, and we'll do this again soon. Have a good night, guys.
Yep. Thanks,
Thanks.
Kirk.